Epistolary relationships or epistolary. Have you heard of either?
Epistolary?
Yeah, or epistolary. I don't know which way it's pronounced. I've never heard it out loud before until just then.
Okay.
Epistolary relationships. Look, you've had one. I've had one. We've all had them.
Should I know? Is this something I've repressed?
Yep, probably. No, probably not. It's what it is. The giveaway is it's based on epistle, like letters. You know, the epistles from the apostles.
One sends an epistle to an apostle.
Exactly.
That's what Jesus did.
Preach it on the mount.
He's saying, "Here's my epistles to my apostles."
Yeah. Jesus preached the epistles to the apostles, looking like that. Withnell and I, great movie. Unrelated. So what is it? It comes from that. It's like letters and stuff. And obviously in the olden days.
Mm-hmm. Back when you had to have different words for things. Couldn't just
well.
call them letters, you had to call them an epistle.
An epistle or a missive.
Yeah, I like missives.
I do like a missive.
I have e-missives.
Well, exactly. I'm going to start in my new email regime starting Monday. It's going to be, dear whoever, I hope this missive finds you well.
You're not going to.
And then I'm going to sign off. Moist regards.
You talk a big game.
I do.
You're not going to do that. You're not going to do that.
My game's the biggest game until I have to deliver. Anyway, olden days, travel like a few hundred years back. Mm. They were olden. Travel was expensive, slow, often dangerous. So these letter things were the go. That's how you spoke to people across distances, friends, colleagues, family members, and most importantly, lovers.
Yes. So
they'd have to wait for days or months, obviously, to receive a response to the letter. So it's the slow burn. Mm. I know, right? You want one now.
I love it.
You're going to start writing to your wife?
Your heart's burning for a month or two or three waiting for the boat to come in.
Yeah.
It's romantic.
It's beautiful. You can't get that with a text unless your phone crashes or you run out of battery. So epistolary relationships basically, in this instance.
Pen pals.
Letter loving.
Letter loving.
Pen pals. What are you, 8?
Well, I was going, it could be platonic. It could be between maybe some scientists or whatnot, and you're like, letter lovers. No one has used the phrase letter lovers before.
You heard it here first.
Letter lovers.
You heard it here first. I think we have a title. Letter loving. So according to, I read this great article, right? It's a great article on herway.net. It's called Epistolary Relationships, all the best articles, 6 reasons to bring back old school romance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So they're saying the letters.
So there's advocates for this. There's
hell yeah.
Can we do this? Okay.
Fuck yeah. They suggest that the letters themselves they're a true art form. They're delightful. So the 6 reasons. 1, it's much more sentimental and romantic.
Sure. Sure.
You sound overwhelmingly convinced.
I feel like you can put a pause in between declarations of love without waiting 2 months. I don't see how that's not romantic anyway.
I agree.
So,
but I'm not a romancist.
Aren't you? Okay.
Not anymore.
All right.
Too old. No stress about being seen. So you can send letters and you don't have to put your face on or wear your special shirt that makes your stomach look tougher.
You can do that via text message as well, or a phone call.
Yes, I agree.
Or a Zoom call with your lover with the camera off.
That's just weird and awkward. Yeah. What are those noises? I'm not telling. 3, it shows effort. Well, it does.
You went and bought a stamp for me?
And mailed it and used it.
That's nice.
4, and you already picked this, it creates anticipation and excitement.
Yeah, sure. But so too does waiting on the reply on the text message.
I've sent you a letter.
All right, fair
That's
enough.
all you're going to know.
I've sent you a letter.
I've sent you a letter. Letter writing helps reduce stress, apparently. I think it depends what it is.
Sure. I think an angry letter doesn't reduce stress.
No, but it depends on the person. Just like heavy metal in people like me relaxes if it's really, noisy.
Are you saying
raw.
there's some people that are relaxed by an angry letter?
Yeah.
I'll bet there are. You know, it's the angry letter to the ABC or the angry letter to the newspaper.
Dear sir.
I am offended.
Fuck you.
I got that out of my system.
Yeah, but you got to write it down. Just saying it's not good enough. 6, the 6 they put up. Letters are tangible proof of our affection. You can't just delete the memory of your device. The letter stays unless you burn it or lose it.
Yeah, okay. But stuff lives on the internet for a while, and I don't
show me the internet messages from 1749. Show me them.
How many letters have you got from 1749?
I have 3.
Not to you.
They are epistolary letters. But they forgot the 7th.
What's it going to be?
Turns out in the late 20th century, they could be an effective way to convince someone to mate with you and run experiments on your offspring.
Yes.
Music me.
Welcome to the Wholesome Show, the show that licks its lips around the whole of science. Jesus Christ. The Wholesome Show is me, Will Grant.
And me, Roderick Griffin Lamberts.
Don't do that into the microphone.
I'm licking my lips.
Don't do that into the microphone. Well, look.
You okay? You going to be okay?
I think I'm going to be okay. At some point, I will be okay.
So chunks of this episode, I just say up front, are from a very interesting and detailed piece in Psychology Today. And I won't tell you the title now because it'll ruin it.
Yeah, fair enough.
So it begins with a Hungarian gentleman, László Polgár, probably László Polgár or something. So he was born in, Christ knows how you say this, Gyöngyös, you know the place?
No.
In Hungary in 1946, although one source says 1945 because the internet, isn't perfect. At uni, he was really into studying intelligence and learning about the teaching. And ultimately, he became, eventually, an educational psychologist chappie.
Okay.
So you said no problem so far.
Sounds fun. I'm starting to get a clue of what he might be interested in, so.
Education?
Yes.
He is. I'll ruin it for you. He is interested in education. You look so worried. I don't know why. This one's actually a good story. It turns out well. So in the mid-60s, I'm thinking it's probably about 1965, he began his hot and saucy epistolary courtship with a Ukrainian foreign language teacher named Klara. So his letters were not actually what you'd call super traditional love missives. They were more what you'd probably call scholarly.
Okay, well,
Now you're feeling
some people are turned on by the mind.
The mind. Me too.
Sapiosexuals.
That's what they call me.
Themselves.
So the letters, they weren't full of descriptions of how beautiful she was or how much he loved her or how he wanted to
Well, he hasn't seen her. It's only letters.
I don't know. Maybe
You could say how beautiful her handwriting is.
My God.
Your handwriting, sexy handwriting.
What a calligraphist you are.
My word. I can't stop these feelings based on your handwriting.
On your calligraphics. I think
and the paper.
And the paper. It's true.
And the indentations. You have pressed hard.
She made her own paper.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. He also didn't include things like, how he wanted to work through every page of the Kama Sutra with her. There was no, sexual business.
So what has he got in there?
Basically, he outlined to her, this is a quote, a detailed pedagogical experiment he was bent on carrying out with his future progeny. And as he reflects later in interviews.
Pedagogical experiment, a teaching experiment.
Teaching experiment with
his future kids.
Yeah, sounds fine.
His future kids, not just any future kids.
Nothing wrong with
it. Did he use the word progeny?
I don't know. The quote about him did. Yeah.
Hungarian, Ukrainian.
Progenognisk. I think that's full Magyar.
Don't take that one.
So he believed, as he reflected in later interviews, for example, in the Washington Post in the 90s, a genius is not born, but is educated and trained.
Okay.
When a child is born healthy, it is a potential genius. Hard to argue.
I don't know.
Neither do I.
It's either yes or no.
You're going to find out. Ultimately, he became convinced that with the right approach to child rearing, he could turn any healthy newborn into a genius.
Mm-hmm.
Still seem worried.
Mm-hmm.
This is actually one of the good ones.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to have been inspired a lot by his reading as a student. So he said, when I looked at the life story of geniuses, or is it genii? Geniuses, I found the same thing, he says. They all started at a very young age and studied intensively.
Yes, but it still could be because they had some feature in them that wanted to.
Yes.
They could be driven to do it, or they
could. That is not you've done educational psychology.
I'm just saying it's not necessarily just the practice going on here.
Sure. Yeah. That's why you need experiments to find that out.
Probably.
See, you're setting up the reason for doing this.
Probably.
You're going to burst into tears.
I'm just worried for these future kids that don't exist yet. But
this is actually one of the good ones.
You've told me that a few times. I just don't believe you. I don't.
He goes on, I found the same thing in these life stories. They all started at a very young age and studied intensively. So he prepares for fatherhood by studying the biographies of 400 great intellectuals, like Socrates, Einstein, and 398 others.
He's reading for when they were kids?
Whole biographies.
Okay.
Which is, it's that classic biography as how-to manual.
Yeah, okay.
As many people read them.
Did he look at any lady geniuses? I
don't know. I mean, surely if you throw a dartboard at 400 geniuses, one of them is going to be a lady, right?
One would hope that 50% or so, but I'm just wondering what he did. That's okay.
Not in the past. All I could find was 400 allegedly. And in 1993, he did an interview, and he also added to this whole pile of attitudes his formula for happiness, which is work, love, freedom, and luck. He elucidates.
That doesn't sound terrible.
No, work, love, freedom, and luck. But the key, he says, is hard work. Work harder, because hard work creates luck. And then in Yoda style, work plus luck equals genius.
Work plus luck equals genius.
And a genius is more likely to be happy.
Genius minus luck is work.
So take out luck and genius, all you got is work. Okay, now I want to be a genius after all. Oh, you're good at this. But so I like the last bit though. A genius is more likely to be happy.
I don't believe it.
At all.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I.
For a start, I don't really believe in geniuses, but
hey man, don't treat me that way.
It's fine. You're fine. You're close. You're close.
The common thread, he says in the biographies that he pored over, was early and intensive specialization in a particular subject or thing, whatever. So by the time he started male wooing Klara in his epistolary relationship, he'd apparently already published a book called, and I think this is a direct transliteration from Hungarian, Bring Up Genius! !
Oh God, you know that is going to be a bestseller.
Yeah. And it's probably in its 18th edition.
I don't like it. He may turn out happy because he is genius plus luck.
Yeah, plus work and freedom. And freedom. Freedom's in there. You've forgotten freedom so quickly.
I like freedom.
So he'd already written this book by the time he's trying to epistolarize Klara to come and make babies to experiment on. And so all he needed basically was a wife who was willing to jump on board, so to speak. So Klara was clearly intellectually aroused by his letters, and she said, I'm just translating from the original Hungarian, mate, I am in. I'm in.
Give me an idea. What was he saying in these letters? We can do an experiment together.
I don't have the letters.
Looking for a lab partner. I think
he pretty much said, I'm a pedagogist and I'm really good at it, and I want to test this theory.
I hope they met at a conference, like a pedagogy conference. Like it's just teachers of Europe coming together for their annual conference, and they're like, okay, let's talk about latest techniques in chalk, latest techniques in adding up, and latest techniques in secretly raising your children to be geniuses by
that's the biggest session.
And they were both in the session together.
That is the big session.
I am looking for children. I'm looking for volunteer. And their eyes met. And across the room, it's like Romeo and Juliet, but far more nerdy.
But weirder? Although they were kids. No, I don't think their eyes met because there would have been so many in the session how to make genius from baby. They would have had to put their letters in a box, and it was like a key party, for the naughty rooting people. Just grab a letter.
All of the pedagogy experts just
grab a letter.
Those of you who want to make babies together, put your letter in the front box at the room, and then we'll sort of spread them out randomly, and you get what you get, and you don't get upset. But that's your lab partner.
You get what you get, you don't get upset. That's what we could call this podcast.
No, we can't use that. That is how you raise happiness.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So she summarized. Mate, I'm bloody in. Her summary, and again in a interview, there are a bunch of interviews it seems in 1993 with these people. He wanted to do something special. We wanted to experiment with the children.
Just don't.
It sounds more sinister than it is.
Only because it does sound sinister.
Of course it does.
It does sound sinister.
Do you think I'm going to read you stuff that doesn't sound sinister?
No, ever. Not ever. Not ever.
So they got married in the USSR, and then she moved to Hungary.
Nice.
The experiment began, aka they had their first child.
Step one, method, have intercourse.
Child. Yep. They didn't actually write that down.
Have intercourse until child forthcomes.
Yes, you keep boning until a child pops out at the end.
They didn't decide that there was a special way to bone to get genius?
Not that I'm aware.
There probably was. I bet there's people out there who say, But you know that there's all sorts of people that they say there's ways to have sex that don't give you babies. Like
anal.
Yes. Well. So yes, there are people who recognize that, but there are also others that go, no, if you do like the reverse cowgirl, that
and wear this hat,
the sperm can't get in.
Yeah, only drink scotch, not too much. They didn't go into that.
I'm sure there are people that are like, the way to get a genius baby is
reverse cowgirl.
Balanced calculator on your head, or
I thought balanced calculator was a position, and now I'm very curious.
The balanced calculator.
Look that up. Google image search. Safe search off.
Listener, if you can put balanced calculator into Urban Dictionary as some sort of
and include it as part of a review,
and make it a sex position, make it some sort of sex position. Guaranteed, we are sending you a hat.
The experiment began, aka they had their first kid, Susan, in 1970. Although one source said 1969. Fucking internet.
Surely participant one.
Participant one. No, this is the time when we called them subjects.
Subject one.
Subject one.
Well, that's why you call them Susan.
Susan in 1970. Then they had two more. Sophia was born in 74, and Judith, 1976.
Okay.
3 girls.
Well, it's a scientific thing to try and minimize your variables.
That's true. Less variation equals easier to determine
3 of the same
effect.
children, and then with one we will try only pizza, and one it's the balanced calculator.
Yeah.
And
so when you say the same children, I'm gonna blow your mind here. Just because they're girls doesn't mean they're the same.
What?
You probably didn't know that.
What? That's ridiculous.
So the guiding theory behind this experiment was simple. Any child has the innate capacity to become a genius in any chosen field, as long as education starts before their 3rd birthday and they begin to specialise by 6.
Education starts before their 3rd birthday. You're leaving a lot of non-educating to get to their 3rd birthday.
2.99 years.
I've just got to say that to not educate a child
before they're 3,
it's not a hard ask. Like, they are craving education.
Yeah, that's cool. But
I mean, if you're sitting there and the kid is saying, pointing to things and wanting the name for them, and you're like, nope. Not telling you until your 3rd birthday.
Yeah, 3 or forget it.
I don't think that.
Roll around on the floor. I'm not even going to help you walk.
So dive in, get them educated before 3.
But they're not just, they're saying you got to, and you must be specialising at the age of 6.
Oh, okay. Choose your
like
discipline.
we all did.
Yeah. Are you?
I know I did.
Podcasting?
No. 15-year-old toilet jokes.
15-year-old toilet jokes.
That's why I'm so good at them.
At the age of 6.
Yeah, at 3. I was already getting
when
used to it.
When I grow up, I want to be a 15-year-old.
It's like, one day when I'm going to be more than double this age, I'm going to stay the same age for the rest of time. So to do this, obviously, Polgar realised you couldn't use the public school system because, as he put it, they only produce, at best, mediocre minds.
Oh, my God, do they? Yes.
So the obvious solution is, of course, homeschooling.
Therein is.
See, it gets better. You should be feeling more relaxed now, right? More relaxed?
No, but of course this was leading to homeschooling.
Of course.
There is no way where Raise Your Own Genius says, work really hard, and then these people are pretty hostile to the public school system, and then dump them in other people's plates.
See what happens.
No, not happening.
That's not an experiment.
No.
That's random craziness. No. So Polgar says, Polgar apparently had to, quote, battle Hungarian authorities for permission to homeschool the girls.
It's interesting to me that homeschooling is illegal in some countries. It's illegal illegal in Germany, illegal in Finland, a few other places.
1970s?
Oh, look, now. Homeschooling is a part of Australian school culture. It is in other places as well, but it's illegal in
Have you met
countries.
Many homeschooled people?
Yes.
And how'd that go?
I met them.
Yep. Do they stand out? The only answer is in some ways. Anyway, not these people. It all went well. So the battle, however, at first didn't go smoothly. So one source at least notes that there was a point when education authorities sent an armed policeman to drag Susan off to school.
Damn.
So it wasn't easy. But in the end, László and Klara gets left out a lot from this. So I'm going to occasionally add her to remember that László is not a single parent. Yeah. So they won. They got to homeschool all 3 of them.
Yep. So this is in Hungary. So
in the early 70s.
Eastern Bloc. So is in the communist world. So, okay, I get the armed guards.
Tricky times.
Yeah.
Tricky times. I think it was Judith, his youngest daughter, says much later, obviously, because she wasn't born yet. We didn't go to school, which was very unusual at the time, she says. People would say, the parents are destroying them. They have to work all day. They have no childhood.
You are going to provoke me into being very opinionated in a bit.
Why?
You just are.
This one works. She goes on, I became defensive and not very sociable.
I wonder why.
It's a mystery.
I wonder
this
why.
This is why you experiment to find out.
You live in a lab where mad scientist is experimenting on, and you don't get to play with other kids. What the hell? That's so weird.
What's your house like? It's a mad scientist lab. No one said that. No one said that. You're very, very judgmental. So he and Klara, as in László, however it's pronounced in Hungarian, Magyar, they thought a lot about what subjects they should focus on. So there's a lot of language training. German, Russian, English. Also Esperanto, the world's only invented language that went beyond two people.
It is not the world's only invented language. There are quite a few invented languages that have gone beyond two people.
Klingon?
Yeah, there's that too. I don't have them in front of me, but one day I've always thought
English.
I've always thought to tell you the story of Esperanto because it's quite interesting. But there's a bunch of others that they invented around the same time.
I got a buddy who learnt it.
Takes a certain sort.
Yeah, very actually wildly good at languages. Anyway, they also did high level maths, but they needed something else. Like they needed something more. They needed another. And
it's got to be super nerd sort of thing. The kind of thing your genius has.
Absolutely, you need something else.
It can't just be something mundane. Like I don't know. History.
Folding paper.
Cookery. It just seems that our definitions of genius seem to correlate with certain sorts of things and not
predispositions to certain favorites.
It's chess and maths and physics. And it's like, wow.
Chess and math and physics.
Wow. It's almost like a certain sort of people dominate these areas and go, yeah, this is what genius is. And you can be genius in other things, but maybe it doesn't get recognized because of the patriarchy.
Yeah, fight it, man. Fight the man, man. In 1973, so Susan was barely 4 and apparently rather hyperactive.
She hasn't specialised yet.
So
she's in the window of education, but not the window of specialisation.
She hasn't got because she's not yet 6, so
she's doing general school still.
Not yet 6. She found, while rummaging through a cabinet, a chess set.
There you go. Okay.
You picked one of the 3 options.
I think old daddy is hiding things around the house just to go,
oh, look.
It's weird that you found one of the 1,000 chess sets that I hid in the house.
Or some dark matter. You choose. I don't mind. A fusion reactor. But apparently Klara, who didn't know the rules of chess at all, allegedly at all, which I find hard to believe, because she grew up in the USSR and she's living with a Hungarian educationalist.
I would find that very bizarre.
But apparently she didn't know. She was, the quote was from my Psychology Today article, delighted to find Susan quietly absorbed in the strange figurines and she promised Susan that
because they have no other toys.
None.
And
none.
You go,
there's nothing else in the house.
What have we got? 32 little figurines to play with. Yeah. I can make a fun story out of this. So
it sounds like it was quite a busy house actually. It was a normal house. There was a lot of stuff in it.
Okay.
Klara promised to Susan that László would teach her the game that very evening.
Mm-hmm.
So she seemed into it. So the Polgars thought, tops, it shall be chess.
Fine. Cool.
They shall be chess geniuses.
All 3?
All 3.
They might have different interests. I know you accused me of saying they were all the same person.
All 3.
Why do they all have to be in the same thing?
Because that's the rules. All 3. Susan, later on in her life, confirmed, however, that I actually really liked the chessmen. They were toys for me, so it was her choice.
That's fine.
As far as she's concerned.
Yeah. Remember he did say freedom was a big part of the formula to happiness.
Yeah, it's 1/4.
And so one child gets freedom and the others get followedom.
So chess also, the Polgars decided, was the perfect activity for their protogenii, geniuses, because it was an art, a science, and also a bit like competitive athletics because it's objective and easy to measure. Success is easy to point to.
It's a
sciencey.
Game. It's a game.
But it's sciencey. You can point like you won or you didn't.
Sure.
You won quickly or slowly. You won well or poorly.
Those things are normally sport, not science.
Yeah, but they said chess is also like sport and art and science. It has everything. Rounded education. Self-selected.
Has everything.
Everything.
Chess has a lot. It doesn't have everything.
Everything.
No cookery.
No, the chess pieces are delicious. So again, in a 1993 article, it says, with the 3 daughters, the experiment was also inevitably diverted down a path of the whole sex difference thing. So apparently in this article, László, he says to the interviewer, look, because men must be clever and hard, women must be beautiful and look after the family.
They don't have to always be.
No, but this is what he gets to.
Not always. I mean,
this is what he gets to because he's not into that.
Okay.
He states that as a beginning premise.
Oh, you expect me to be clever and hard? I'm not always hard.
Oh, no, he is, obviously.
Well, sometimes
he's hard
if there's
all the
an
time.
experiment.
3 daughters.
When I have an experiment ready to go.
Constantly educationally erect.
But not always.
So yes, as he puts it, men must be clever and hard. Women must be beautiful and look after the family. Only then, if they have time, can they be clever. But László wanted his experiment to help change this prejudice. So he's a woman's rights kind of guy.
No.
He wants the experiment to change the prejudice.
Why don't he change his prejudices? Be the change you want to see in the world, man.
He is, by teaching his daughters chess. It's the obvious path to equality.
Oh, obviously.
How do you not see this? I feel like it's so obvious there's no point in continuing. It's just so clear. It's also worth mentioning at the time these decisions were being made about the girls, less than 1% of top chess players were women.
Okay.
Less than 1%. So I think it's worth having a quick digression into sexism in chess.
Really? Give it to me.
It's a bit relevant.
Yeah, okay.
So Bobby Fischer, I think everyone who's heard anything about chess, Bobby Fischer is the kid genius who's an American guy.
Yep.
Really into chess. Apparently, the Queen's Gambit's lead character is based on him a lot, even though I think it's a girl.
Yes.
And he wasn't, or isn't. He might be alive still, I don't know. He once said, women are terrible chess players.
Thanks, buddy.
And he went on to say they should mess. He didn't think.
I'm just fucked off that all of these geniuses.
Yeah.
They're like, I am such the fucking genius of the world. I have conquered chess. I have understood the universe. I have cracked into the world. But they can't just look a little bit at the social world around them and go, maybe these things that have been told to me before are bullshit that are just self-serving.
What if the social stuff is also contestable?
It's weird. They are so fucking impressed with their own intellect, but they never actually use it.
Oh my God. Fischer goes on to say he didn't think women should mess into intellectual affairs. They should be kept strictly in the home.
Oh, so this is interesting. So he's gone from a can't argument to a shouldn't argument, which is very much about you should stay in your place because I'm worried about your threat to me. And it's when you're making both of those arguments, and it's like they're mutually inconsistent.
No, he's progressing. He's gone from you can't to you shouldn't.
You don't. No, but here's the thing: you don't say you shouldn't do this to someone who can't. Like you don't say to a dog you shouldn't fly away because it can't. You don't need to. You don't need to do that. He is keeping it. No, he actually deeply believes that they can. He's just saying they shouldn't.
We go on about sexism in chess. This is going to shock you. 1989 issue of Playboy had
where I go to for all my gender studies.
Your gender equal stuff. They had an interview with former world champion Garry Kasparov.
Okay.
Yes. And I have to say, in recent times, I've seen interviews with Kasparov about politics and stuff. He seems like a pretty smart, reasonable guy. It seems in the interview.
I think he's been a bit of, not a huge one, but a bit of an opposition figure at some point in Russia.
I've heard these stories. So anyway, 1989 Playboy magazine, the go-to for your sexual politics. He said, there is real chess and there is women's chess.
Thanks, buddy.
He adds, because why leave it at that? Women by nature are not exceptional chess players.
Well, I think by nature, most people are not. Exceptional.
No one. You're by nature, 3. How the fuck does this work?
Like if you throw a person into a chess set, by nature they are not. They almost might be nurtured into this.
If you throw a person into a chess set.
Yeah, I'm just saying they won't get the rules instantly.
I have a cartoon-like image in my head right now. Turns out I don't like it.
I'm just saying that there's a little bit of learning going on here.
There is a bit of learning. He also throws in a pearl, not in this interview, it came later. He once described chess as the most violent of all sports.
It's not. I mean, I know what you're talking. You're like, I'm getting into your mind. I am going to fuck your brain up.
Intellectually pulling your arms off.
Chess moves.
Yeah, look at you. Look at you. You're bleeding in the mind.
I've got to say, no one has died from a chess match.
Someone may have had a stroke from the thinking.
Yeah, possibly. It is not the most violent.
No. And he went on to say, the only goal is to prove your superiority over the other guy. And he added, women are weaker fighters. So that's a couple of legends talking about it. And just to give you some stats, I'll give you some numbers. In 2001, 6% of internationally rated players were female.
Okay.
A whole 6%.
So what, back in the 70s, weren't they? You said 1%?
Less than 6, yep.
Yep. Okay.
Or less than 1. And by 2020, apparently this number had risen to a princely, are you ready?
7.
15.
Hey, look, there
15%.
You go.
Wasn't great.
I just to pick up on Kasparov's point there, the point is domination and superiority. He obviously knows chess a million times better than me. And I totally get that. And I get that we live in a socialized world where that sort of thing is not only associated with masculinity, but also valorized in masculinity.
100%.
So being that, so I get that our culture is asking boys and men to do that more.
Yeah.
And so there may well be many women who go, well, I'm not asked by culture to do that. Now, it doesn't mean if you had different cultures around there that we couldn't have very different chess players. So I get kind of what he's saying, but it doesn't have to be that way.
I'm with you. I don't think it's quite what he meant because he was being a little bit on the
I get it.
The side of the sexist.
Yeah.
But the good thing was Polgar, László, he said this is an even better opportunity to build genius cause. If innate talent was irrelevant to his theory, which he's arguing it is, then gender's definitely irrelevant too. So having 3 girls is awesome.
Okay.
Though I got to say, if you're going to be doing science, he should have had 3 boys as well.
Sure, have heaps.
No, just 3 and 3. Keep it neat.
Yeah, okay.
And do the test on all 6.
Yeah, okay.
But they didn't. So Susan's training began. So the family apparently lived in a modest apartment in the heart of Budapest. And apparently also the narrow living room was cluttered with chess books and one wall was lined with sketches of chess scenes from centuries ago. Chess house.
Chess scenes? Are we talking about did it have the people in them as well? Like
people,
here is the moment where Garry Kasparov finally conquered over Bobby Fischer.
It was like an ancient fellow with a wig and a pipe.
Or is it just a look at the board and this is a
just pictures of 64 square grids?
Yeah, and a moment where it's like, wow, how do you puzzle out that scenario there?
No, apparently quite artistic. Like they were images of the chess playists. And one account says it was basically the apartment was a shrine to unremitting chess practice. Thousands of chess books.
I got to say, I admire Dad's commitment here.
Yeah, he's committed.
His daughter found a chess set and said, "Oh, these look nice," and goes all in with chess. When his point is pedagogy and raising and the way to do that is I will go all the way into your hobby.
Find a thing. So yeah, it was a shrine. Thousands of chess books, trophies and boards were in the living room. A file card system took up an entire wall. The file cards were about chess. There were records of previous games for endless analytical indulgence. And it just went on and on and on. Heaps of stuff. So Psych Today, this is a quote that it's just worth saying because this is only Susan at the moment, but then the other 2 came along and as Psych Today put it, as soon as they were old enough to feel the pain of parental exclusion,
they're feeling left out.
Yeah.
Like that's just fancy term for,
Yeah. So the younger girls would peek through a small window into a room where their father taught Susan chess for hours a day.
He couldn't do it in the living room?
Nope.
Couldn't do it with the others around?
What is wrong with you? Your PhD is not in pedagogy, is it?
In the living room. Like
what's wrong with
you can fit chess into like the coffee table.
Nah, not these. Yeah, you could. So László went, oh, this is cool. They're curious. You can come in and watch if you want, but only if you also learn how to play.
Okay.
And so, bam, he had 2 additional subjects.
Yeah, right.
So what was school like at home? Susan.
I'm sure it covered all of the necessary things. It gave them
chess and languages.
A good grounding in literature and politics and maths.
Tetherball.
Yeah.
The gymnastics.
Engaging with people your other age.
Absolutely.
Dance. The barn dance.
There was definitely a barn
dance. Did they do barn dancing?
Yes, they did. Like a BNS. So Susan says again in a later interview, my dad believed in optimizing early childhood instead of wasting time playing outside or watching TV.
Fuck.
I
loved wasting time as a kid.
I still do.
Man, wasting time. Isn't that freedom? Isn't the point
it is.
Here?
He
said, he's like, no, you can't have freedom. You got to get genius first, then you can waste it.
To be fair.
But then you can't waste it because you're a genius.
To be fair, they did. They swam occasionally.
Okay, that's nice.
Played ping pong and they got a 20-minute breather each day.
Breather?
Penciled in just for telling jokes.
You're going to come to your 20 minutes with a good set of 8 jokes each.
Laugh, fuckers. Enjoy. Are you relaxed? Excellent.
It's a very communist way of dividing up your time.
Hard to imagine where that came from.
No.
So he believed the girls' achievements in their chess would not only bring them success, more importantly, he says, it would also make them happy.
That's an
interesting
assumption, because I'm guessing.
So he cares about happy.
I'm guessing from everything that you're doing here, you're not making them happy. It just feels not the pathway.
Well, look, I don't know. So they'd sit in the living room with these pictures of 19th century chess scenes around them for inspirations, and the girls would often sit on the floor and play blindfolded blitz games that would last minutes.
Just randomly moving pieces.
Smash your hands
you're
around. You're
blindfolded, and it's not a game.
Well, apparently it was. Like, so some people have said, look, this seems a little bit, I love this quote, a bit like light torture.
So they're remembering where all the pieces are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
What a...
But apparently it was the sisters' idea of fun. They were actually kind of into it.
Look, in their defense, actually, I remember one of the most amazing little videos I saw on video game playing ever was this guy playing Invisible Tetris. Like
oh my God.
The image would pop into the screen, like the block, and then it'd disappear, and then it'd come down. You don't know the speed or anything like that, and then all of the bottom bits are invisible too. So
Holy
you have to
shit.
This guy was playing like level 200 Invisible Tetris. I'm just like, what are you doing?
Well, clearly nothing else. So Susan says they were all into it, and she says in particular, I had an inner drive. I think that's the difference between very good and the best. So Susan said she was driven. She was driven.
Yes.
And this is what psychologists say about the brains of chess whizzes, because obviously, science. So there's one psychologist from Boston College, and her name is Ellen Winner.
That's a good name.
Fucking oath, especially when you're talking about what she calls the rage to master.
Rage to master?
The rage to master. And it's basically, as she puts it, a prodigy's primary motivation. They are just raging to master.
Yeah.
Not angry, just like all energy burning to mastery.
Some sort of obsession.
Yeah. And they basically, this notion of mastery is more important than socializing. It's more important than anything. I must master this thing. But she says, look, you can't make someone or teach someone to have that rage.
No,
they must have it.
I believe that. I
must
believe that
have
entirely.
So you can force kids to work harder, but you can't make them have passion. So she says the girls could have rebelled against László. It seems like the girls had the rage.
So did he get lucky? I mean, he seems like he has the rage as well. Like he seems genetically disposed to he wants to master a certain sort of thing. And so he's following it through much further than most people. So his genetic material is not neutral. And I know there's no neutral genetic material, but what he didn't do is say, I'm going to parent 3 children, but I'm going to grab random DNA from the rest of the world, which is a crime. Is a crime grabbing random DNA from the rest of the world.
A little gross.
But still.
Just getting some random DNA. Stop making it weird. It's science, not perversion. What's wrong with you?
It said in my ethics, go random, no one will mind.
Go random. It's your birthday. So there's a heartwarming example of this rage. So László once found Sophia, the middle child, in the bathroom in the middle of the night with a chessboard on her knees. And he said to her, look, seriously, leave the pieces alone. And she says,
bedtime, sweetie.
Well, she says, it's not that I won't leave them alone. They won't leave me alone. So she's into it or crazy.
It also does sound like not giving them any other stimulation.
They got to swim and tell jokes for 20 minutes a school day. 20 minutes or hear jokes.
But you can't lie awake at night thinking about more jokes, can you? Maybe you can.
I do. I'm one of the luckiest sleepers around because my dreams are delightful. So a neuroscientist in Switzerland, we're talking about the psychology of it all, a guy called he wanted to be a chess legend when he was young, and he had the rage to master, he says. So he even moved to Russia in his teens to study intensively with grandmasters.
Jesus, what a conversation with your parents.
I want to move to Russia. What?
Would you just...
From Switzerland. So similar.
They're both European.
Yep. Except Russia doesn't
speak European?
They do. Hello, do you speak European? Duh. But he plateaued apparently at 23 and he quit. He just got as good as he peaked. 23.
Rage to medium master.
Yeah, rage to mediocrity. And he does what everyone does. When you freak out, the thing you want to do doesn't work.
Throw it in the bin. Never playing it again.
No, go to cognitive science.
Indeed, yes.
Same thing.
Why am I shit at this?
Yeah, so that's what he did. So he brain scanned chess legends and also well-trained but nod legends.
Okay.
As part of his study. And he found the areas responsible for long-term memory and higher-level processing go off in grandmasters. Long-term memory, high-level processing.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
They could have, get these numbers. He reckons they could have, a chess master could have between 20 and 100,000 configurations of pieces and patterns committed to memory that they can access pretty much instantly.
It just comes when you've done something that
It
much.
all comes up. Because he realised that mere mortals, they only use their short-term memory or particularly use short-term memory. And so when they got a new thing, chess-related, it would displace an old thing. So it didn't have that long to, it's like,
Okay.
That's a great idea. Fuck, what happened to the last one?
No, you got to put it into deep store.
So amateurs basically overwrite what they learn. So the science version of this is legends have a tendency to process chess more thoroughly through their frontal and parietal cortices and areas responsible for long-term memory. Amateurs activate medial temporal lobes, aka the lobes of losers. TLDR, chess whizzes probably, but not definitely, have inborn proclivities. But he can't be sure because he only studied people who are already chess whizzes, didn't study their development. He also reckons there's no gender difference. That's a load of bullshit. That's the summary. So we now know everything about chess and neuroscience. That's it. That is all of it. The question is then, did the experiment on the sisters Polgar work?
I'm going to go no.
So we'll start with Susan. Around 6 months after she first said, I like chessmen, so she's about 5, László said, fuck it, I'm going to take her to I love the quote, smoke-filled chess club in Budapest. So she's 5-ish. Susan remembers it. She says,
she wouldn't know the difference because I'm sure she's been to like a cafe, she's been to a supermarket, she's been to. Well, you know, kids go out and do just like the normal things. They go to supermarkets, they get petrol for their car. They're all smoke filled. They are all smoke filled.
1970s Hungary, absolutely.
There's no place like, yes, it's a chess club, so they're sitting around having a durry while they're playing.
Fuck yeah, they
But
are.
everywhere, they're pushing the trolley around the supermarket, having a durry.
Oh yeah.
You know, filling up the petrol tank, having a durry.
My first job was in a shop. Everyone smoking.
Having a durry.
All cigarettes and ashtrays, like literally cigarettes and ashtrays in a store in Canberra in the not 70s. So she goes into this thing. She remembers, as she puts it, aged men sat in pairs, sliding bishops, slapping down pawns and yelling out bets on their matches.
Cool.
She says, I don't know what was more of a surprise. Was I surprised by them or they by me? Because she's like 5 and a little girl.
Sure.
One of the regulars apparently laughed when he was asked to play a game with her.
I don't know if he did. Give me the tone of his laugh. He's like, hey, I'm a grandfather. That'll be fun. Or I will brutalize you, little girl. What is the...
Apparently it was a friendly, dismissive laugh. That's the best. That's what I would say.
I need you to look up the tone of every
friendly
laugh. Every laugh.
I will.
Look up the tone.
I'll do that for you.
Laugh has tone.
Susan extended her tiny hand across the board for a sportsman-like victory shake.
Oh, she won.
She pantsed him.
What a surprise.
Yep, she pantsed him.
I mean, obviously it's going to happen.
Soon after.
She chose the shittiest guy in the room though.
No, apparently not. So for starters, she's 5, maybe she's turned to 5.5. She's totally smashing the city's underage 11 girls tournaments. Perfect scores, won everything. At 16, she smashed a bunch of adult opponents and landed on the front page of the New York Times.
Hey, New York Times.
Yeah, from Hungary. At 17, 1986, she became the first female ever to qualify for the Men's World Championship. That's what they called it. But the World Chess Federation said, no, you can't go because you're a lady.
It says men's.
Yeah, it
Did
says
you
men's.
read the title? You can't
Are
go.
you a men's?
You can't go.
Yeah. Are you a men's?
It would be be embarrassing for everybody if you won.
Like it would ruin chess.
It would destroy.
Chess would probably cease to exist if a woman competed in a man's competition.
It would be terrible.
Eventually, apparently, they changed the name to the World Championship, but not at the time.
Why did you put men's in it? In the
why?
I mean,
why? We still do. We still discriminate between male and female chess today, ish.
I get there is a moment where in earlier leagues where maybe you want to. No, I don't know. I don't know.
This is the 80s. This is the 80s. It was a different time. In 1991, she became the first woman to get the World Chess Federation's title, Grandmaster. First woman. She's 21 years old. So the experiments with Susan seems to have gone pretty well.
I just got to say, I've always confused chess titles.
Grandmaster.
With
it's better than Big Cyclops.
An
Imperial
like
reverse wizard.
Grand wizards, and it's like they're close. They're close.
Can you imagine the meeting? These rednecks are sitting around going, "What are we going to call them? What about what's above a wizard? Is it a Cyclops? I don't know. Is it a centaur?" So Sophia, second child, she was described as by folks lighthearted, very funny, and coquettish. because that matters.
It does, or not.
As a teenager, she was apparently stunningly beautiful. Men adored her, and she adored being adored.
Okay.
Apparently.
Okay. Thanks, man. Man. She's a teenager.
Also, this is what you need to know about a chess player. These are the important facts. She was also apparently a brilliant speed player, but she didn't work as hard as the others.
Oh, I get. Well, that's why she's good at the speed play.
Exactly, because could just get on with it.
I just want to do it.
So bored.
Smash it out quickly.
So bored.
Teenage chess.
So Susan says Sophia is the artist of the family. She liked to play chess, but the analytical part was a burden. Chess for her is artistic, and she wanted to do beautiful and original things. But what held her back was she was trying to find beautiful and original things.
Oh, she didn't want to actually win. She has no urge to dominate. She has no rage to master.
She's no
She doesn't
man.
want to pull submit. She just wants to make it beautiful.
Exactly.
Pretty chess.
So apparently that's what held her back.
Chess is ballet.
So she didn't develop the defense side of things, like little advantages and just brutal slam it out chess.
I get it though.
You know the kind.
I get it though. I am a sucker. I ain't no chess player in this sense. I like a bit of chess, but I do know there are times when you're playing a game against people and you think this move will cause problems for me down the track, but it's kind of fun and it'll get a laugh and it's good fun to play.
I can't. Chess stresses the shit out of me. The few times I've played it as an adult, I'm like,
I like bits of chess, but I remember once I was when I was backpacking around India and I was playing chess against these Israeli dropouts. Like they force them to play chess in the army and they play it a lot. And then they dropped out and gone and smoked cones all around the world. And this was in India. And we were playing late night one somewhere in this cafe. And the second time where he said, "Oh, you don't want to do that, buddy." I'm like, okay, thank you.
Thanks, but also get fucked.
But
you're not my real dad.
In terms of the fun of the game, I am sometimes a sucker for it'd just be nice to. It's nice to do fun, beautiful moves that will hurt in the long run. But it's.
So I agree with you. The difference between you and me is I don't know if they're going to hurt.
Okay.
I'm like. Terrible. This is not my game.
Yeah, fair enough.
It's not my game. I wish it was because it seems cool. My uncle was a competitive chess player right into it. In fact, he didn't get married because he said, what woman is going to marry a man who loves chess more? More.
Well, maybe he could love his if he's.
Oh, he got the ladies. He just couldn't commit to the
It
ladies.
sounds like he's putting that barrier in front.
I think it worked for him because he could keep playing chess.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, apparently, yes, the middle child, Sophia, wasn't as into it, but she wasn't shit. She had a moment, an Italian tournament in 1989, glorious moment it was described. She finished ahead of 5 grandmasters in a record-breaking performance that became known as the Sack of Rome.
That's a nice title.
Isn't it?
That is a great title for your winning game.
Yeah,
and you quit after that.
Rome.
You quit after that. You get a good headline. Like that's all I need.
Look, it was close to that, but because apparently she also had a reputation for making careless mistakes because she's looking for pretty.
Yeah.
But she did end up becoming
That's
international
my problem
master.
as well. That's really my problem.
You're just you're mesmerized by beauty.
This is why I'm not a grandmaster.
You're the dude in Is It Stealing Beauty who sees the plastic bag and dribbles about it for 2 hours?
No, I'm not doing that.
But with chess.
He looks lame.
But with chess, so it makes it cool. So she said, look, other interests pulled at her attention, and she said it wasn't that chess was too much for me, it was a bit too little.
It wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough.
I need more.
She needs more.
This game that you love, it's a bit small.
So the experiment. Firstborn, megastar.
Yes.
Second sister, pretty awesome, but not quite as awesome.
Don't tell me about it.
The youngest, Judith. Susan says, Judith was a slow starter, but very hardworking. I'll give you a flavour of how she started. So here's a snippet from an account of a tournament that all 3 sisters played at. Judith was 9. I think it was her first international bout. So apparently...
She's doing all right. She is 9 at an international bout. I don't care what you're going to say.
That's
next.
not terrible.
She's not terrible. Like, I have played somewhere between 0 and none international meets. Like, and never will. I don't think that is happening.
There's still time, although they do say you peak at about 40. Sorry, man.
What?
When you get there, be worried.
Yeah,
So Sophia apparently, they weren't just amazed by Susan, but Sophia, who was 11, won most of the games in her section.
Our art player.
But
Judith?
The pudgy baby of the family, I'm quoting, 9-year-old Judith drew the most Gawkers of all. Positive, right? To the delight of onlookers, she took on 5 players simultaneously and beat them. Blindfolded. I'm like, what the fuck?
That's awesome.
Blindfolded, 5 players simultaneously, 9 years old. So there was a former Hungarian champion who used to coach the sisters, and he said in her mid-teens, Judith, she is dangerous. She does not play chess like a woman.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know. Apparently, Susan goes on to say she launches aggressive attacks as often as she creates elaborate defenses and artistic combinations.
Does she always play blindfold, or is this just
sometimes she takes it off every now and then? As she grew up, her eyesight got better. They say she basically on the chessboard is nothing short of quote is macho. Susan said that, not a man.
Okay.
She's known for a laser-like focus, and I love this quote: unladylike desire to crush her opponents. So the year that Susan became a grandmaster, Judith did too. She was 15.
Damn.
15. And she was even a bit younger than Bobby Fischer was when he legendarily won the title.
God damn.
So she freaking nailed it. Nailed it.
Jesus Christ. All right. So here's me thinking you've got like a torture lab dad, and now he's churned out 3 geniuses. One a bit of an art genius, but
that's fine.
But still,
Beautiful.
You wouldn't say
the worst one was only an international master. So this is so the question is, was it a
playing
success?
Blindfold the whole time?
Why wouldn't
and
you?
just keep it as a handicap the whole time? Like
not only that,
even if you lose, who cares? I'm just blindfolded.
But not only that, one of you. I want me to play one game.
Yeah, no, that's the thing.
I don't know if I can dumb myself down that much. Like I'm going to get so confused.
You know that there are people that are playing blindfold against 5 all the time, but they always lose. It's just like, no, this is what I do. I always play blindfold.
Oh, I can do that.
I think that would be a sport worth watching you. Incompetently playing chess blindfolded against 5 people.
Sort
of fumbling for the pick.
Smashing bits over. Like, is that the clang? Wrong board. Fuck it. Did you pick a piece up? No, but you knocked over 9 of theirs.
Oh, Jesus.
It'd be dreadful.
It's like a 2-minute nailed it sketch.
That's Andy Samberg in Brooklyn Nine-Nine when he comes in on the hoverboard. The cold opener, he just crashes into every desk in the precinct and it's like, welcome to the opening credits. So wasn't it a success? Look, probably, because Susan's a legend. Sophia's a freaking excellent player. She ended up being the 6th, at her peak, 6th best woman player in the world. Woman player. Judith, I love this quote. Not only is she the best woman chess player of all time, she is the best by a fucking mile.
Really? By a mile?
By a mile. She's the only woman to have ever been ranked in the world's top 10. So she peaked at number 8 in 2005.
Wow, good on her. Oh, yeah, you would give her some time. It's,
Context. Okay, then, 2020.
Yeah.
These are the latest numbers I found. 37 of more than 1,600 international chess grandmasters are women. 37 out of 1,600.
Okay, so not huge numbers.
2%. The current top-rated female, at least in 2020, is a woman called Ho Yifan. She's ranked 89th. The reigning women's world champion, Ju Wenjun, 404th.
Oh, okay. So the highest is 8.
High, 8. Judith, unless something happened this year, and I doubt it, she's nailed it. So the question then, of course, is did László make them chess geniuses or were they predisposed? I mean, you kind of brought this up.
This is the question.
The eternal question. So 8-time US national chess champion, Josh Waitzkin, I know I didn't need to tell you that, but people listening at home would wonder. He said, look, they were all the girls were extraordinary at the game that was essentially thrust upon them, like an arranged marriage that worked out well. But he goes on to say—
What were the other things he had in the drawers that they could have pulled out? Like, was there a tennis racket or was there like—
Lint.
Lint.
That's it.
A slab of butter you can just—
Butter, that'd be your children. If you have any more, butter experts or mustard. He said, basically, eventually they all grew into themselves. They all became their own human. Imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
He goes on to say, of course, they were in basically a chess cocoon that their father spun, but they weren't just robots because the beauty of chess is your personality can come out. So some people argue it was all László and, of course, Klara, because the environment matters a lot. Others say, no, fuck that, it's a coincidence, raw talent.
Do you know, in ancient times, and people have often—
1940s?
No, a long time before that. People who look at a lot of ancient art and medieval art, and particularly people who hate modern art. They're like, look how fancy they could paint a painting back in those days.
Yeah.
Look how fancy they could make a sculpture. It's freaking lifelike. And here's the thing, lifelike is not always the goal of a sculpture or painting.
No.
But they were, in some senses, amazing sculptors because they started apprenticeships when they were probably 3 or 4 or 5. They were just hanging around and they would be doing these things and they wouldn't do anything else. There would be no school that was not that. Sure, they'd go do errands, play with friends, play
20-minute joke breaks.
But they would be from a very young age doing the bulk of their time on that thing. If you spend the bulk of your time on that thing and develop a passion for it, there's a very good chance that you are that genius.
And even if you don't develop a particular passion for it, it could still be reasonable.
Sure. No, if you throw a kid's brain at something hard and go, no, this is the only
then
thing.
they get a concussion and you go to jail.
This is the only thing that you really do. You know, we ask our kids to do a diversity of things, and that's good. I think for socialization, for all those kinds of reasons.
Yeah.
But if you throw a kid and say, the only thing you're going to do is chess or sculpting or pick anything.
Triangle.
They're going to be very good at it. That's the thing.
Or at least better than most.
Better
than many.
No, I think they'll be better than nearly everyone. Nearly everyone.
Okay.
Now, not everyone. Maybe there's other things to get to the very top, but I think.
If only there was a way to test that.
Is there? No one could ever know.
It's impossible. So really it's probably both, right? So according to this chess guy, the American 19,000 US champion, 8 times, he says, look, an aggressive streak, birth order, chance encounter that leads to a marriage on the other side of the world. These factors and changes of fortune.
Hungary to Ukraine?
For him, he's America. Everything's the other side of the world. So there's an article in The Independent that said, here's a scene after a big victory, probably late 80s, early 90s. The 3 girls of various sizes, a plump mother and László, gnome-like, with a cloth cap covering his balding head. They looked like the happy scene at the end of a fairy story. So that's nice. Not complimentary, but pleasant. They seem happy. László, according to a different interview, looks like a disgruntled garden gnome and answers questions in a musical voice with an evangelical tone and a tendency to stare into space. He wears the scars of his weariness after decades of battling against Hungarian chess organisers who wanted his daughters to only play in women's tournaments.
Oh, okay.
And, of course, the homeschool wars. But as far as I could tell, he was happy with the result. But he did go on to say if they could he and Klara could run the experiment again, they'd rather do it outside of Hungary. They would seek commercial sponsorship.
This is his limitations.
Yeah.
In the end of his paper.
Yeah.
When my daughters got to this age.
Further research, sure.
Finally, try this in different countries.
He also goes on, look, the problems of cancer and AIDS might be more easily solved if our system we use to educate 1,000 children. So he's kind of going, let's take other problems and just educate the children in that.
Oh, God damn it.
Science.
God damn it.
So where are the sisters now? Susan. In 1994, she married a computer guy and moved to New York. They have a couple of sons, but later she divorced him. And there's this great story. It's worth saying. About 2005, so she was 36. She was living in New York in Queens giving chess lectures at the local chess club and basically beating that living shit out of everyone who came. So apparently one day she walks in, she's coiffed, made up, dressed in a sleek black pantsuit, elegant contrast to the boys and men hunched over their boards. She announces, I have a special treat. Tonight, everyone will get to play me. It's going to be bliss chess. Bliss? Blitz? Blitz. Bliss sounds good. Each opponent gets 5 minutes on the clock. Susan gets 1, so they get 5 times the amount of time.
But if she's rotating, it could only work that way. Like she has to.
But that's not the point. They got more time. She didn't say each gets to play me simultaneously. It was one at a time. One at a time. So the first guy, a Serbian fellow, they apparently begin slamming pieces down, punching the clock, creating all these noises, blah, blah, blah. She smashes him. He couldn't even look at her as he said, well done. A retired bartender, smashed. 14-year-old boy, smashed. Reluctant 9-year-old, suffering from an allergy attack.
Reluctant 9-year-old?
I know. Mum, I don't want to. Also, I've got the sniffles.
Serious? Poor little kid.
So apparently he was coaxed by his mother and she said, don't worry about your eyes. Everyone loses to her anyway.
He sounds like he's gonna make good films in about 30 years' time.
He will.
And then problems will come out later when he's 60 or something like
that. It's all
that.
because of the chess match. But his mum says, don't worry. Everyone loses to her anyway. So this kid.
Don't worry anyway, dude.
Yeah.
It's a game.
You're going to lose anyway, champ.
Play your best and you lost. Go to the next game.
Who said he lost?
He did what?
Yeah, he lost. And later on, she remarries to a buddy of hers. She lives in St. Louis. Sophia. She quit competing shortly after she married an Israeli grandmaster of chess and orthopedic surgeon, because that's what you do.
Sure.
1999, studied painting, interior design.
That's it. Art chess. She wants to do.
Fabulous. Full-time mum. She says, look, there's a lot I can thank chess for, including I met my husband through chess.
Sure.
So that's nice. So apparently they now live, or at least since 2012, Tel Aviv. Judith says, I grew up in a very special atmosphere. Everything was about chess. My father and mother are exceptional pedagogues who can motivate and tell it from all different angles. Chess became a sport, an art, a science, everything together. Mm-hmm. I was very focused on chess and happy with that world.
Hey, good on her.
I was not rebelling I wasn't a going out type. I was happy at home and that we were a closed circle and we went on playing chess. So she was great. And an article I saw in The Guardian. So as a rule, very high-level chess players, particularly younger ones, can be fairly dysfunctional, like Bobby Fischer apparently was not
long-term recluse later.
Yeah, not super well. And Polgar, Judith knew him in the 90s. But apparently she's relaxed, approachable, and, quote, alarmingly well-balanced.
Mm. I did not think out of this education that alarmingly well-balanced was the
I told you this is one of the good ones. She married a Hungarian vet in 2000. They got a couple of kids. She had a slump in her chess game in 2006 to 9 because she had to work out how to juggle a competitive chess career, 2 young children, running a chess foundation in Hungary, writing books, developing educational programs based on chess. And she says, my life is very complex and rich now. So she retired from chess competitively in 2015. The epilogue, Sexism and Chess.
Jesus.
Stuff like it. So in September of 2002, there was a Russia versus the rest of the world match. Judith is there playing Garry Kasparov, beats him. It was played with rapid rules, 25 minutes per game. I don't know. That sounds fast to me. I'd take 25 minutes per move and it's still terrible.
No, you wouldn't.
No, it's true.
You'd get bored. You would get bored 25 minutes. That's a long time. 25 minutes per game that's a fast game.
It is a fast game. Apparently, she won the game with exceptional positional play. And I don't have to tell you this, but people at home, Kasparov used the Berlin defense instead of his usual Sicilian move.
Oh, damn.
Fucking
That's an
idiot.
interesting choice.
As if you would. I mean, the Berlin defense, of course, is quite controversial.
Brave.
It is brave. She apparently used some of Kasparov's standard moves against him. And it got to the point where he'd only lost a couple of pawns and he said, and he resigned. But after the famous loss, which was the first time a female player had beaten a reigning world champion in this game, like reigning world champion, Kasparov was asked about his past opinion of women's chess.
Oh, yeah.
His reply, I don't believe that now.
Okay.
So he recanted.
There you go. He just needed some evidence. He just needed
to get his
evidence.
ass kicked. So, yeah, the main article was called The Grandmaster Experiment.
So what he's actually saying.
Oh, yeah.
What he's actually saying is I don't believe other people can play chess. Like if he is the world champion and you're reigning world champion for a while, what he's not saying is women can't play chess or it's just no one can play chess. It's just I can play chess. You all try. That's what he's.
That's equality.
Maybe he could have said that.
You're all shitter than me.
There you go.
But she wasn't. She beat him using his own shit against him. Ooh. So, sorry, the main source was the Grandmaster Experiment from Psychology Today. There's also, of course, a little snippets from Wikipedia. The Conversation had a great piece about gender imbalance in chess. And there are a few other sources you can find in our show notes. That's the tale. You can make a genius.
Yeah, that is not...
Or 3.
Not what I would expect. Like, I thought if this was going to happen, that... likelihood of them being balanced in the end was low.
Abominable. I started reading it going, you got to be kidding, it worked? I can't believe they're not messed up.
Especially you telling us, because
I know.
You don't look for the good in people.
So here's how it goes. You don't know what I'm going to do next. I'm up in your mind. I'm tap dancing around in high heels. Am I going to go left? Am I going to go right? You don't know. Imagine what the next episode that I do will be.
See you next week, listener.
Ciao.